All right, switching gears now. Mecklenburg County Democrats have a new person in charge this morning. Wesley Harris was elected party chair this past weekend.
That's right. It comes after intense scrutiny over campaign spending during the 2024 election. In fact, the WCNC Charlotte investigation found local Democrats spent more than $100,000 just on an election night party, which was more than twice the cost of what they typically raise over an entire election cycle. Our Nate Morabito spoke to Harris at the time before he was elected party chair.
I think the last election cycle, I think our county party raised maybe $50,000, if that. And so the fact that we spent more than that on a watch party is upsetting, to say the least.
Joining us now live to talk more is Wesley Harris. Wesley, good to talk to you again, and congrats on the new position. First up, your predecessor at the time defended his work, saying that the party raised record cash on a local level and reached out to more voters than ever before. So why do you think you were elected instead?
I was elected because the results didn't bear that out. Mecklenburg once again lagged behind the state in terms of turnout, and there was just a lot of turmoil within the party and a lot of division within the party. That's to be expected even in the best times. But when you couple that with a very rough election cycle, while we had some bright spots on the statewide level, but North Carolina going once again for Donald Trump and our turnout lagging significantly in Mecklenburg County once again, it just kind of boiled everything to the surface, where they said, if we're going to move forward and rebuild the trust in our party, we're going to have new leadership. And that was really what the sense I got from the vast majority of the delegates that voted in the convention this weekend was, we've done some good things over the past 2 years, but we just need that new leadership to give us a reboot so that we can tackle this critically important midterm election coming up in 2026 with our best foot forward.
And you mentioned some of the division within the party. Members of the African American caucus of Mecklenburg County have told us here at WCNC Charlotte that they felt disrespected by the former chair. How do you work to repair those relationships?
And that's the key issue. We have to show up in the community. We have to engage with the community and the stakeholders and the leaders within that community. And I think that's something that we haven't particularly been great at, because when you look at Mecklenburg County, we are an exceptionally diverse county, probably the most diverse county in the entire state. And when you look at kind of the role of the Democratic Party, there's two things. Really, it's just to elect Democrats. And on the local level, if you want to elect more Democrats, the focus is usually on the suburbs, which are typically wider and are typically more wealthy. And so focusing on those areas takes attention away from our base voters in the Crescent, mostly our African American voters, our more minority voters, our Hispanic voters. And so a lot of them feel like we haven't really focused on them as much, chasing that shiny object of trying to flip these suburban seats. But on a statewide level, when you're looking at statewide races, every single vote in Mecklenburg County matters, and we have to get our key demographics out, our key voters out in all parts of the county. And so to do that, you have to have a presence in every single corner of Charlotte, every single corner of Mecklenburg County, showing people what Democrats stand for, how they're fighting for their communities, how they're standing up for them. And that's all about building relationships. It's all about showing up. It's talking to folks. And that is really going to be our critical focus over these next 2 years, to just be everywhere and show people we're not there for your votes. We're there for you. We're there for the community. We're going to show you that Democrats are the party that believes in you. We believe in investing in our communities. We believe in providing opportunities to everyone. And I think if we start doing that, we can build back that trust. We can build back those relationships. And I think the electoral results are going to show that.
Mecklenburg highlighted as one of the most important counties in the entire country in last year's election. But as you mentioned, like 2020, turnout here was disappointing to national Democrats. Some going as far as to say Mecklenburg County Democrats were responsible for losing North Carolina 2 election terms in a row. Was that fair?
In a way, but then not really. I mean, while there's over 300,000 Democrats in North Carolina, again, it's not like if you compare North Carolina to, say, Georgia, Atlanta is 60% of Georgia. And so how Atlanta goes, Georgia goes. North Carolina is much different. We have more rural voters than any state other than Texas. And while Atlanta is 60% of Georgia, you add up our top 8 counties. Buncombe County, Mecklenburg County, Forsyth, where Winston is, Guilford, where Greensboro is, Durham, Wake, Cumberland County, where Fayetteville is, New Hanover County. All those together, It's only 40% of our state. And so while Charlotte is critical, if we don't get our turnout up, it's going to be very hard for Democrats to win statewide. It's not the entire margin, because I think, Kamala lost by about 250,000 votes, give or take, in North Carolina. And so you can't make that up just in Mecklenburg County, even if we had just sky high turnout. But it is a critical piece. If we do not do our job in Mecklenburg, it makes it so much harder on the state. And really, you saw that. We had 5 Democrats elected statewide in North Carolina. In order for that to happen, they had to outspend their opponents 3-1 and run against some of the worst candidates to ever seek public office, if we're being honest. And so that shows you that Democrats can win if we have a good message, if we have money, especially for running against bad candidates. But it also shows that if our party actually does its job, gets up our floor, gets out our base voters, then we can really transform what statewide races look like in North Carolina and trend our state much more in a solidly blue direction.
So we know that North Carolina is a swing state. So for Democrats to win North Carolina, is it more on the Democratic Party backing the candidate, or is it just choosing the candidates, the right candidates for the Democratic Party to win?
It's a little bit of both. I think one of the problems that we have is when you nationalize things, the message gets drowned out. And like I said, North Carolina is a very geographically diverse state. We're a very economically diverse state. And so 2 things really have to happen for Democrats to really be able to take control in North Carolina. We have to, get out our base voters more in our heavy urban centers, but then we also need to expand the map. And those require a couple things. Those require the right kind of candidate who can have that North Carolina message. North Carolina has always had a history of those populist roots going back to the early 20th century of, we were a leader in public education in this country. We transformed our state they used to call us the Rip Van Winkle state. We were the state that fell asleep and couldn't wake up again. But visionary Democratic governors invested in our people, invested in our infrastructure, and transformed our state to what we have today in a leader in finance, and a leader in healthcare, and a leader in education. And so we have the track record to show people what Democrats have done for North Carolina. We just have to go out there and show people that and tell people that, particularly looking at what's happened in the General Assembly the past couple of years and this fiscal cliff that we're approaching on of not able to make those investments due to Republican leadership. And so it's finding the right kind of candidate who can go out and make those messages, make that economic message to the urban parts of North Carolina, the rural parts of North Carolina, the coast, the mountains. But then here in Mecklenburg County, we got to get our base voters out. We are a Democratic county. We have a supermajority on the city council. We swept the county commission. And so we run the show here. And so we got to go out and show people why us running the show is benefiting their lives, why it's better to live in Mecklenburg County than Union County, than Gaston County, than Iredell County. We got to show how we are delivering for the voters and give them the receipts so they will come back and support us, and more often, and most importantly, come out and vote for us.
You mentioned the local races, and in fact, yes, we have a midterm next year, but we have city races this fall. So I want to get you on the record and put you on the spot on a few of these. Do you support the transit plan referendum coming up?
We'll have to see what the final version looks like. I know the House has one version and the Senate has one version, but the future of Charlotte's growth and Mecklenburg County growth and our entire regional growth is going to depend on having investment in transit. And what that final plan looks like, I think we are going to have to make those investments, because that is one of the only ways we're going to be able to handle our growth. Because if we want affordable housing, we're going to need to build more. And if we're going to build more, we need to show people that we're going to have the infrastructure so that traffic doesn't go crazy, so that people's daily lives aren't going to get impacted by that. And one of the best ways to do that is having a reliable transit plan that people can believe in. And so I think it is absolutely critical that we invest in this transit. And I hope that I know our city elected officials and our state elected officials are working with the Republican General Assembly leaders to make sure that we have a fair plan for Mecklenburg County. But we got to make sure that those investments are going in the areas we want them to go to. But I fully agree that we need to make these investments in transit. We just got to make sure the plan is something that works for not only Charlotte, but the entire region.
All right, very quickly, we know that Tark Bakari's District 6 seat is open now in Charlotte. Democrats have been close to getting this one. Who do you plan to run? Can you tell us that?
I don't know that yet. We haven't even had filing, haven't even had a primary, and so it's certainly going to be a big target. Like I said, it's one where our state legislative districts in that area are consistently blue. The presidential results are consistently blue in that area, and municipals we haven't been able to get over the finish line. But we are talking to a handful of folks, and I look forward for us running a really great candidate and hopefully being able to get that seat this November.
Stephanie Hand just got a few hundred votes away from it just a few years ago. You expect the mayor to run again?
I don't know. I've had a few conversations with her. She's keeping it pretty close to her chest. But I'd assume that decision will probably be coming fairly shortly. So we will see. No inside information from me. I'm sorry to say.
That's fair. Still fresh in the job. All right, Wesley Harris, new chair of the Mecklenburg County Democrats, former state lawmaker as well. Wesley, thanks for coming on. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Great to talk to y'all.